Hello there, Rising Star Tyler here, and today I am going to be doing the Who Wants to Journey 2021 hashtag. This hashtag was started by fellow PokeTuber CrasherPlays&Reacts. I'll leave a link to his channel and the video in the description. There you'll find all the guidelines and such for this challenge. So basically, the premise of the challenge is the PokeTuber who is making the video will go over their anime journey in the Pokemon anime. And that is exactly what I'm going to be doing, so that's enough intro stuff, so let's hop right into it. Hope you enjoy. So, starting off, my journey would start in Fortree City in the Hoenn region. And on the morning of my 11th birthday, I'd take a trip to Little Root Town to obtain my starter Pokemon from Professor Birch. I would choose Torchic as my partner Pokemon, and I'd then start my journey. I would first travel to Rustboro City to challenge Roxanne, the Rock-type gym leader. I'd defeat her and claim my first gym badge. But while I was in Rustboro, I'd meet a trainer about my age named Devin. He challenged me to a Pokemon battle, one-on-one, and I ultimately defeated him. He told me he had just started his journey recently, and I informed him that so had I. And Devin suggested we travel together, and I accepted. We'd both continue our journey, sometimes challenging each other to occasional battles, until we had both defeated all 8 of Hoenn's gym leaders. We both participated in the Hoenn League, and until we got to the finals. We were the last 2 trainers remaining, and when it came down to it, I managed to beat Devin. I moved on to challenge the Elite Four, and defeated them all. I then went on to challenge the champion Steven Stone, and after a long battle, I lost to his Mega Metagross. I traveled back to Fortree after my defeat, wondering what I should do next. There I asked Fortree's gym leader, Winona, for advice on what to do next. And she suggested that I travel the world, which makes sense for her to suggest that, as she is the flying-type leader after all. I thought about it and decided I'd do just that. I met up with Devin in Doofertown and informed him that I'd be leaving, and he said he'd stay in Hoenn to continue his training. I went back to Fortree and told my mom I wanted to travel the world to continue my journey. And I packed up, and for the first time in my life, I left Hoenn. After Hoenn, I'd travel to the Sinnoh region, and I'd only bring my now fully evolved Blaziken. I'd of course defeat all 8 gym leaders of the Sinnoh region, and then take on the Sinnoh League. I'd win in the finals, so I would go on to challenge the Elite Four, but I lost to Flint. After my loss to the Elite Four, I would decide that I needed to train, and that I did. For the rest of my time in the Sinnoh region, I spent training for about a month or so, until I was ready to move on to the next region. And I should mention this now, but of course, in between each region, I would go back to Hoenn. I traveled from Sinnoh to Kanto, went to the League, but I lost to Lance. I went from Kanto to Johto, went to the League, but I lost to Karen. And fun fact, this was also around the time that Ash started out on his Pokemon journey. Then, from Johto to Kalos, there I lost to Dresna, although while in Kalos, I managed to learn a lot more about Mega Evolution, which was nice, and I also got a Mega Ring from the Mega Evolution Guru. Then after Kalos, I headed to Unova and ended up losing to Alder, although nothing really important happened here. And then, as I said before, I'd usually come home in between every region I traveled to, but I never stayed long enough to see Devin, as he was usually busy, and I came home and said hello to Mom, and then asked if she had heard anything about Devin recently, like I normally did. And this time, unlike all the others, she said that she had, and that he had taken a break from training, and was taking a vacation in the Alola region. I traveled to Alola, and I found him at the Pokemon school. There he had already made a friend named Nathan. And the professor of the school, Professor Kukui, informed me of the Island Challenge, which differed from my usual gym experience, but I was willing to give it a try. So together, me, Devin, and Nathan all participated in the Island Challenge, traveling from island to island, completing trial after trial. Soon enough, we had already completed the whole shebang. Me and Devin, after our Island Challenge was completed, decided to have a rematch battle, since we hadn't had a proper one with each other since back all that time ago in Hoenn. The battle was long, but in the end, I ended up defeating Devin once again. We then decided to travel back to Hoenn while Nathan stayed in Alola. I decided that after many years of training, it'd finally be time to take down Steven. I first traveled back to Professor Birch's lab to receive the Pokemon I'd take to challenge Steven. As I was about to leave, Professor Birch handed me a small stone, a Mega Stone to be more specific, and to be even more specific than that, Blazikenite. I then traveled to the League and took all of the Elite Four members down: Sydney, Phoebe, Glacia, and Drake. I took them all down. And then, my opponent. The one I had been waiting for so long. The battle I had been anticipating for months after months. But, to my surprise, it was not Steven who I would be facing. No, it would be the previous leader of the Sootopolis City Gym, Wallace. After the initial shock of realizing that Steven had already been defeated, I battled Wallace, and eventually, I won. I was happy, yet disappointed. I'd become the Hoenn champion, but it didn't truly satisfy me to have beaten Wallace and not Steven. The battle I had been anticipating for so long, and it wasn't even the opponent I believed I would face. These were my thoughts after defeating Wallace, and I realized that becoming the Hoenn champion wasn't what I wanted. It was a rematch with Steven that I wanted this whole time. After the disappointing yet happy win, I traveled back home to Fortree to be congratulated by all of my friends and family. Even Devin congratulated me there, and although their happiness of me becoming champion was nice, and their support, I was still disappointed nonetheless. A few months had passed since my victory over Wallace. I was challenged by many strong opponents in battle, but I always longed for the possibility that maybe one day Steven would challenge me in an attempt to reclaim his title of champion, but of course he never did. I wonder if I would ever get the chance to face him again when, one day, I got my answer. I was just about to leave home to make my daily trip around the region, but as I was heading out the door, an advertisement on TV caught my attention. It was an advertisement for the World Coronation Series in the Galar region, a tournament-like event in which the strongest trainers would compete to see who would be crowned the world monarch. I quickly decided to travel to the Galar, as this might have finally been my chance to get the rematch with Steven I had been hoping for. Nearly as soon as I stepped foot in Galar, I made my way to where I could sign up for the series. And that about wraps up my journey up until Galar, but first, before I end, there's still quite a bit to cover, and now it's time to talk about the Pokemon I would use. I've traveled through many regions at this point, so I've captured many Pokemon, and these 9 are some of the best that I have captured, and that I would keep in rotation for the World Coronation Series. First up, taking up the starter slot, would be Blaziken. Now, Blaziken, of course, I would choose as my starter in Little Root Town, and of course, as seen in what I have said, it is able to Mega Evolve. The pseudo-legendary of my team would be Metagross. Now, Metagross I would be inspired to get after being defeated by Steven's Mega Metagross, so of course I'd want my own, but unlike Steven's, mine is not capable of Mega Evolution. Third up on my list would be a shiny Talonflame. Now this Talonflame I would catch as a Fletchinder in the Kalos region, and that's pretty much all there is to say about it, besides the fact that it's shiny. Fourth up on my list is Lucario. Now, Lucario I would be inspired to get by the Tower of Mastery in the Kalos region. Now, after Kalos, I would have traveled back to Sinnoh to capture a Lucario, or a Riolu in its case, and evolve it, and also I managed to find a Lucario Knight while in Sinnoh. So this Lucario also, like Blaziken, has the ability to Mega Evolve. Number 5 would be Haxorus. Now Haxorus, not much to say about it besides the fact that it would be my only dragon type on the team, and some may mistake it for a pseudo-legendary, but its stats are not high enough to classify it as such, so it is not, meaning that I can still use it. And that's pretty much all there is to say. Next up, and 6th on my list, is Runerigus. Now, this ground and ghost type, not a lot to say about it. So, yeah, I would catch it shortly after my signing up for the World Coronation Series. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about it. Next up, and the 7th on my team, would be Toxapex. Now, Toxapex I would catch as a Mareanie in the Alola region. Now, the story behind it is, while in Alola, I would find a Corsola that was being snacked on by said Mareanie. And to save the Corsola, I would capture a Mareanie. And also, ironically enough, it would be the member of my team with the biggest appetite, kind of like Maze Munchlax. 8 is Sudowoodo. Now, there's not really much to say about Sudowoodo besides I would catch it in the Johto region, and also it would be kind of the goofball of the team. The 9th and final member of my team would be Alolan Marowak. Now, Alolan Marowak I would catch as a Cubone while I was traveling through Kanto, and I would evolve it due to a lesson in Alola about type variants, or not type variants, but regional variants. And I would ask Professor Birch to transfer Cubone over so I could evolve it as a study. And yeah, pretty much it. So that's it for my Pokemon. Now, it's time to talk about my companions. So there are two that I have in mind, which I have already talked about, and they are Devin and Nathan. Now Devin, I haven't really had many encounters with him, besides all through Hoenn and through Alola. But other than that, I'm pretty sure he would probably show up to the World Coronation series. And yeah, Nathan, there isn't really much to talk about with him besides traveled through Alola together. And yeah, now for the rivals. So I would have, well, the first rival I would have would be Steven Stone, of course. Although it's less of a rivalry between us and more of just me wanting to beat him. So, not really a rival, but yeah. And then my next rival would be Ash, and I would learn about him through the World Coronation series, and we would both have a battle with each other, and my Talonflame would fight against him, and that would inspire him about his Noctowl, since they are both shiny bird Pokemon. And yeah. Now, who would I like to see compete in this challenge? Well, there are 5 people I have in mind. 1, True Green 7. 2, M&J TV. 3, Pokemon 7. 4, Birdkeeper Toby. And 5, Emperor Cubone. Now that about wraps up this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. And thank you so much to CrasherPlays&Reacts for making this challenge. It was really fun to make, so yeah. Hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.